Well, I'm Matt Hill, and I work for Night Energy Services. Right now, I'm in Oklahoma, actually Edmond, Oklahoma.
And my levels look good. Your levels look good. All right, let's officially start this interview. I mean, we've talked a little bit off the air where we said we should have had some things rolling, so we had to start rolling. So the levels are looking good. And how you doing today? You're at Home Depot getting some last-minute items before you go into a mandatory. I don't know what they call it, a stay-at-home type of a law. We got the same thing happen in my state coming on Friday. So talk to me about what you're currently doing.
Well, as you know, we're all been asked to shelter at home as much as possible to keep the coronavirus at bay. And when you do that, you happen to look at all the things as you're taking meetings online and Skyping and reaching out to everybody to keep in contact and make sure the oil field's going okay. I'm sure most of our colleagues are in the same boat. They're like, oh my gosh, it's hard to work at home. You got all these pressures on you to, hey, I need to help with the kids, and I need to help this, and I need to fix a light bulb or whatever. So,
you know, I've been doing the home office thing for about 15 years. There was 3 years where I was in an office, but primarily over the last 15 years. And the one thing that I noticed that was the really hard secret thing to adjust to was how easily you could go to the break room or the water cooler or get some coffee or just stop by a Cube's, you know, an adjoining neighbor either by the office or the Cube and have a 3-minute, 5-minute discussion throughout the day. That's the one thing that working at home that was just really kind of snuck up on me a little bit that I really did miss was having that office camaraderie, having those little breaks throughout the day. And what I found was exactly what you're talking about. I'm like, you know, I suppose I could replace that light bulb now. And then pretty soon I found myself doing more home projects than actual work during the day. So it's an interesting balance.
it is. And it just goes to remind me constantly how important our network is, because we've all been reaching out. I've been doing I'd say a market study and just calling all the operators with, you know, all my friends that are engineers and getting in touch with them and saying, hey, how's your business? What's your plans this year? You know, what are you guys doing with drilling, completion, production, workovers, fishing, manufacturing? You know, you need parts for anything. I mean, just seeing how you can be a part of what they're going through. You know, I mean, we're all in this together with not just the coronavirus, of course, knocking us in the teeth a little bit, but also with the Russia and Saudi dumping all the oil onto the markets and our oil prices being hit so hard. We're just, you know, we're reeling a lot. So now is more than ever, those of us, you know, still fighting the fight have to work, I'd say, out of respect for those that are getting laid off, just doubly hard.
You mentioned the 1-2 punch of the OPEC, Russia, Saudi Arabia supply-demand shock, and then on the other side, the coronavirus supply-demand shock. You know, there was conversation yesterday I had with Jim Willis from Marcellus Drilling News, and he brought up a good point, you know, that this kind of the shock to the demand side and the shock to the supply side is really kind of unprecedented happening at the same time like that. And it was a 1-2 punch like the industry's never seen before. And that's why I'm glad that you're joining us today, because it seems like everywhere we go in terms of online, there's negative news and all this cutting back and this and that. But at the end of the day, we still need to power the grid. And last time I checked, natural gas and fossil fuels or hydrocarbons are a big part of that grid. And without even getting into the distribution chain, just keeping the lights on and the ventilators going and just the sheer basic hospitals, the energy industry has to keep trucking along, keep moving along. And from what I understand, you guys at Night Energy are one of those companies that are fortunate enough to have work in Shale Play USA. And Talk to me a little bit about that. You guys are currently have some jobs and are working, and things seem to be pretty positive, huh?
We're positive. I mean, we all have gone through a restructuring at night before any of this. So we're running lean and mean and are poised to help all the operators that are going to stay in it, so that they're going to have the rental equipment and services that they need at an affordable price with partners in every basin, because there's no place on U.S. land that we can't be to help them out. So any operator can look to us and say, hey, I need your services more than ever, because so many vendors are taking a hit and can't help us anymore. So we've got full staff, full equipment, ready to be there. And that's drilling, completion, production, workovers, inspection, manufacturing. So there's no part of the oil and gas sector on that side of it that we can't step in with, amazing people, talent, and innovation, and expertise, on how to, help out their organization and support them.
One of the questions I do like to ask people, especially when we're talking about the oil and gas industry and business, is, who is your customer? And you did kind of mention, a lot of the different things that you guys service. So at the same vein, sometimes, somebody's customer can literally be 20 people in the United States. And on the other hand, it could be somebody, like an insulation company who really can venture into the world of agriculture and other areas too. So with that in mind, I used to joke, hey man, there's not a lot of people out there that can afford your $500,000 generator. You got a very small market, but the good news is it's a very small market. You know who to go after. But sounds to me like you guys can really service a lot of different people and everything. So who is your customer, I guess?
Oh gosh. I'd say any operator that has wells. Whether it be the guy that's going to go out and service his well, maybe replace some casing. They may only have a couple wells a year that they work over and keep the production up, or it can be Chevron in the Gulf that needs, drill pipe for, an entire string of drill pipe to go and drill. So from big to small on the operator side, whether it be horizontal or vertical, there's something that we can do to help everybody. So we've been very fortunate to have such a broad market, and it gives me the opportunity personally to speak to everybody from from the top down. Can I help you as a president, vice president, operations managers, drilling, completion, production engineers, superintendents, company man? There's just nobody that we don't want to support and see how we can, be part of their success, because everybody needs somebody to reach out to in this. And that's when we're good times or bad, but right now, especially, we've all come together. On and on inside of our own company. I'm very proud of the way my team in particular is always making sure that the customer is number one. What are we doing to help them? Has anybody reached out and said, hey, we need a discount right now? Let's get with them and see what we can do, because the oil prices took such a hit and they may need to still go take care of some operations. What can we do can we dig deep and give them discounts right now?
That's a really tough question, because, I understand where the oil companies are coming from. And first of all, I don't think the energy companies have ever hid that. Most of them are publicly traded, and they kind of have to, adhere to the shareholders and balance sheets and all that other stuff. So I get where they're coming from. But at the same time, back in 2015, that same request was made. And a lot of the service companies did that. And I don't know how much more blood you can get from the turnip, if you know what I mean. And
Well,
what kind of response are you hearing?
Working on it.
Yeah, what kind of response are you getting from people on that request? Because they were public with the request, a couple weeks ago, asking for a 25% reduction.
Yeah, and guess what? If they're not asking it because they want to, they're asking it because they have they have wells to take care of, whether it be going to get a new one or go and work over an old one. But they want to stay operating. They want their partners to stay in business. So they're smart and saying, hey, our partners right now, let's all come together and see if we can go do this cheaper. We know what innovations have we made as an industry to make this where it's faster, cheaper, quicker, better. I mean, all I've seen since I've started in this industry 15, 16, 17 years ago now is able to go and drill more wells with fewer dollars. And that's amazing. I mean, that technology and innovation has come just from times like these. Mm-hmm. So,
hey, I'm following you. I mean, you've seen our price sheets. You've seen how we've cut our costs and made it so it's streamlined. So it can be done even from the PR standpoint to the frac sand standpoint to a lot of different standpoints. It's depending on where you're going to streamline and where you're going to put your focus and investment, if that makes sense. I mean, Like I'm saying, even from my standpoint, I did.
I invest my money. I want a return on my investment as well, and of course, being as you see on my LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and anything social media, there's really, I have quite a bit of focus directed at us supporting our industry and making sure that everybody in the entire world understands that oil and gas exploration and development and used as an energy source is really our most reliable, affordable, abundant possibility we have on this planet. And it's my moral obligation to want to make people's lives better. My grandfather was always like, Matt, take care of your bubble. That's your wife and your kids. Take care of God, take care of your wife and kids, then start reaching out from that bubble. Well, we've been very fortunate and, sticking by that, and God's been good to us, and we constantly are hoping to help others. And part of that is third world countries that don't have energy, that, there's people in huts cooking with, cow patties. I mean, that just boggles me in today's age that we don't work harder to supply oil and gas across the globe so that everybody has a chance to have lifestyle. There's nobody in the world that doesn't want to live like Americans do. Nobody. We are still the land of the free and opportunity, and I'm blessed and fortunate to be here as part of the industry that can solve all the world's problems.
Matt Hill, Knight Energy, our guest, and one of the main reasons why we wanted to bring him on today was I believe that there is not enough rhetoric and not enough conversations being had right now by the media about the oil and gas, petroleum industry's contribution to healing and fighting the coronavirus epidemic. Now, whether it's from powering the ventilators, whether it's from the plastics that the testing kits come in, or whether it's the diesel fuel that the truckers are using in order to get things from point A to point B. I want to bring Matt on to talk a little bit about oil and gas's contribution to healing and fighting the planet right now, because this is a global epidemic. It's now being hit in the United States. Matt's down in Oklahoma, and he's got a lockdown or a shutdown, or I don't know how they're phrasing it in your neck of the woods, but it's kind of a mandatory stay home, and if you get proper permission, you can go to the store type of a thing. We've got the same thing happening up in the Bakken here, so this is a global issue. I'm seeing more headlines about how the climate change is being positive because of this instead of all the positive that oil and gas is doing to help this. So talk to me a little bit about how you're seeing the energy industry, primarily the oil and gas industry, healing and fighting this epidemic.
I mean, you and I kind of went down this rabbit hole yesterday when we started talking and decided to go on air with this. Is if you chase that, there's not one thing in anyone's life that hasn't been touched by oil and gas. I mean, all the plastics that go into all the machinery to keep people breathing. I mean, just ventilators alone. But your face masks, your suits. I mean, hazmat suits or the Tyvek suits that look like the painters wear with those, dust particle masks. I mean, there's just no end. Cans of Lysol, rubber gloves. I mean, everything I see at home when you start looking at it, because I'm proud of our industry. So you look around and see, well, what are we doing? What are we part of? Oh, there's nothing that we're not. There's not one comfort that we enjoy that hasn't been created by that opportunity. Hasn't been created by oil and gas. I will fight tooth and nail to make sure that my heater comes on in the winter by natural gas. I want my dishwasher to work with the electricity produced by natural gas. I can't believe that as a country, it's not the single most important thing to everybody in their heads is, hey, we have to have our energy at all times ready to go. So is our energy source reliable? I'm sorry to people that love the idea that renewables could possibly be the way, but I just don't see it. There's the science isn't there. I think you'd have to have a giant windmill in every single person's backyard to even come close to providing enough energy for a couple days. But every single, that's all. Those things are made from oil and gas being available to go and harvest the metals. So if we go put a straw on the ground with the technology that we have and we have energy, on and on down the line, we have medical supplies to battle this stuff. We're all in a bind if we don't have oil and gas to fight this, virus.
I'm looking at the Governor Polis out of Colorado. You familiar with Governor Jared Polis out of Colorado?
Yeah, I mean, Colorado, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Texas and Oklahoma think we have problems with regulations and people not understanding what we do. And then, I have, we have people in Colorado to take care of, our business over there. They just, I constantly get to be on the phone with them, finding out what they're facing. Or when I get to go to Denver and see all of my customers in Denver, there's like, man, these people don't get it. They don't understand what we're fighting for. We're fighting for our lives, it seems to me, to be able to go and explore, our resources.
Here's the thing that I don't understand, and I'm a member of the news media and have been for over 20 years, and I've won awards in the newspaper industry and in the radio industry for
I love what you do, by the way. I can't say it enough. I mean, every time we get a chance to talk, like I'm very impressed by your contribution to us having another voice in our industry.
Well, I appreciate that, and this is a voice that I want to get out there right now, which is I can't believe that there's not a major media outlet in Colorado where the front page headline does not read Governor Polis cites oil and gas as critical, essential businesses. How is that not a front page headline? There has been a front page headline that says war on oil and gas out of that gentleman's mouth. I mean, that guy has demonized oil and gas for the last 2 years to where he wrote a book called The Colorado Blueprint to get rid of oil and gas. And now during
all of a
this
sudden they're
crisis.
waking up.
Oh, now it's a critical business. And
Yeah,
listen, I understand that
we all need the lights on.
this is probably not the best time to point it out, but when is the best time to point it out? Because to me, this goes against everything this guy's been trying to politic against, and he's trying to cost people thousands of dollars. He's trying to put an industry out of business, and now he admits that it's critical. That I don't understand. Oh, that's not the front page. Sorry, man. I got my soapbox there.
No, yeah. I get on mine too. If I get a group of people together, that's the first thing we go to. I mean, it's in it's in the forefront of our minds. We had our AADE symposium just a few days really before all this coronavirus really started. We were lucky to have Richard Spears come speak, and many other engineers, given their case studies. But Richard was our keynote, and he reminded us in so many ways how to, just thank goodness we have the oil and gas just for our medicines. There's really very few. I can't think of any medicines unless you're going out in the woods and tapping a willow trying to create your own aspirin. But for everything else, oil and gas have created our modern medicine, and it's why we have better lives and we can live longer and fight sickness and disease. So we all talk about it. We're a fan. I mean, the oil and gas industry is, it's not a huge amount of people when you think about it globally. Yes, we have a lot of people, but those that are in it, we all consider each other family, and when we get together, we share, and we love talking about how we contribute and supporting each other. But we all need to do a lot better job, because it's really easy to talk to each other about what we do and be proud of it, but we all need to have the courage to talk to our neighbors and our friends outside of the industry and remind them why we do what we do, how we do it, that it's not sabotaging the environment. In fact, the environment's done nothing but get better. The more technology and innovation and exploration of oil and gas that we've done, the better the environment has gotten. I might have to fight that science on Twitter, but we also have a lot of numbers to back us up.
No, it's true. I mean, if you go back 150 years ago, we've gone from burning hay and wood and whales and coal, and we've been decarbonizing as a species for the last 150 years, long before the Sierra Club came around. That's just fact. And when you take a look at the amount of hydrocarbons that are left in, like, say, a natural gas, you're down to basically one. So we have been evolving towards this naturally. I used to joke that there was a time when you could barely see the mountains in California back in the 90s, and
right.
Innovation and a number of different pressures from the marketplace took care of it. And these are the types of things that are happening. We've been following the Meridian Energy Group and some of the advancements they've been making in the refinery. And really, when you look at the innovation that's happening, it couldn't even happen without oil and gas. And now they want to. It's so different to me how easily logic gets thrown out the window on this industry, where I don't even know how to communicate.
We sent people to space. We have satellites orbiting our planet. We know, we've been able to explore the universe because of oil and gas, because we as a species came up with innovative ways to find more energy. The more energy you have, the better off your lives are going to be. And oil and gas is the one way where we have a efficient, reliable, abundant, affordable source of that energy. There's nothing we can't do as human beings. We haven't found any limits to what we can do yet. because we have the energy to do it. But so people demonizing going to get more energy just has always been, yeah, the logic out the window. You throw that out the window when you're like, oh no, take away people's energy. Why? What on earth are you thinking?
So what's next for you guys? Kind of wrapping up here. You guys have got some activity. You've got some business at the same time. You're adjusting to the new normal, which is, home officing. There's a number of people that are probably never going to go back to the office. And there's some people that, they'll probably go to the office less. And there's some people go back full time as well. There's some people that are going to continue to work out in the field, and their job ain't going to change one bit either. So when it comes to you, and we were talking yesterday, all of a sudden now you can't
wait to get back into oilfield events.
Well, I was going to say, man, we were talking yesterday.
I love people. I like putting my arms around them. I like hugs. I like handshakes. I'll even take the elbow bump right now.
Well, man,
I know we're not supposed to be close enough. But
it's just not the same having a lunch
it's just
Skype.
Not the same.
Having Skype over lunch ain't the same as it is going out and having, a couple.
I like lining. I like to fill up my calendar with so many meetings that I'm filling it up like 2 months, 3 months in advance. Like I'm constantly wanting to see somebody face to face and seeing them in person so we can talk about what they do. Somebody wise told me many years ago, and nothing I've ever done has come from my own innovation. It's been really learned by knowing the right people. And they're like, Matt, networking isn't about what somebody can do for you. It's about what you can do for others. When you meet somebody for the first time and you get the privilege of listening to them and learning about what they do in life, like that's such an amazing gift, an opportunity to see if there's any possible way you might be able to help them in life. And the older I get, that's just that wisdom, it keeps setting in more and more. It's like, man, that was just the greatest thing I've heard. So as an industry, I think we've all done a really good job of that, is helping each other. And I'd put our industry up against any other to show how we do that. I mean, there's nowhere else I've ever seen that people come together and find ways. We're a can-do kind of industry. There's nothing we can't figure out how to get done.
So how can people get in touch with you and give you guys some business?
Of course, you can always Night Energy Services. Luckily, we have our LinkedIn, we have our Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram. You can get a hold of me at matt.hill@ke.services. Of course, you can always call me. My number's posted there too. I love talking with people and seeing how we can work together or network together in the future. As soon as everything comes back to normal, I really hope that everybody gets out and starts supporting your industry events again. We have, we're blessed here in Oklahoma. It's a big, oilfield market. We have the AADE, the SPE, the Oilfield Helping Hands, the API, the IADC. Just on and on. All of our industry events and meetings need to be supported more than ever. All the oilfield companies that go out and do the charity clay shoots and the golf tournaments, all that's going to start again. So hopefully everybody will be prepared to come back together and see each other and get back to meetings. We're all going to come through this. We just all got to make sure and support each other and see how you can help each other. Find ways each day to help somebody no matter what.